Despite what you might have heard, Jon Favreau does not work for Lucasfilm. That is, he's not an employee of Lucasfilm. He has his own company, and it is contracted out for him to do work on The Mandalorian, and now for this movie, which we believe is a repurposed Mandalorian Season 4. Repurposed so that they have something to put on the big screen, because Rey was not cutting the mustard. At least, the scripts were not what Disney was prepared to go with, and perhaps the director was not up to snuff. Now, we have Jon Favreau back again. But does this mean that Jon Favreau is taking over Star Wars, taking over Lucasfilm? Folks, we'll give you the answer right now. Hello, happy days, folks. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to have each and every one of you. We here on the Pro Channel work to explain entertainment and keep you ahead of the culture curve. Been doing it for a while. We'll continue to do it even longer, much to the chagrin of the mainstream, the access, and the corporate media. Today we're talking about Jon Favreau, and specifically, what is it that he does at Lucasfilm? And has his job grown, or is he being sunsetted by this new Mandalorian movie? We're going to explain it, folks, and there's some insight here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. There are channels out there are people out there claiming that Jon Favreau is taking over Star Wars. But you want the truth. We'll give it to you. Panel, let's go. The key thing, I think, to notice here is that Jon Favreau is named, he's in the marquee. He's in the lights. That's who they want you to associate with. We had heard, and somebody correct me now if I'm wrong on this, because there's a lot of information and we're doing this on the fly. We had heard that Dave Filoni was going to be the director of the Mandalorian movie. I don't know if that was official, but I thought it was.
It was
now
official,
Favreau is
and
there.
He still may be, because look what it says at the very bottom of the announcement here. The Mandalorian and Grogu will lead Lucasfilm's ongoing feature development slate, including films helmed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni, who is also currently developing Ahsoka Season 2, meaning the Dave Filoni movie is still happening. So this is another thing.
What would that be then, Andre? What could they possibly do?
Well, Filoni was doing the Mandoverse movie, right? He was combining all of the, Book of Boba Fett and...
Eric, don't you do this. Don't you tell us that there's more than one of these.
Yeah, he's like combining it like the Avengers. He's bringing all of this stuff together versus, I think this is just possibly just going to be the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh, no. You're telling me that this is a buddy cop movie and that the full-on Mandoverse movie still sits out there somewhere ready to bring in the Dave Filoni characters. Oh, no!
2 in space.
Oh, no! More space whales! They'll upgrade them to narwhals, by the way.
What do we do if this is Thrawn? I mean, I would expect that Jon Favreau...
No, that would certainly be the Filoni movie. That would be the Thrawn one, since he bragged so much about it was his Thrawn. So I would imagine that has to be Filoni's movie. This is probably just rounding out the Mando and Grogu storyline, maybe setting up the Rey movie down the line.
Now, the thing I will say is Filoni, if he has a place at Star Wars, it is sitting there asking Jon Favreau what he thinks about all these little lore things. I think if he has a place at Lucasfilm, it is him sitting there and adding little nuggets on Star Wars and having Jon Favreau decide whether or not they go in the story. I think this is a good spot for Filoni. I'll say something positive there about that.
Well, putting Dave Filoni on the back burner is definitely a good thing. They can say that Ahsoka Season 2 is in development. There's no release date given. Rosario Dawson, we know, has not heard anything. And so I would say that largely, other than if this thing actually goes into production, Chris has his doubts, so do I. But largely, I would say that this is a PR attempt at recapturing the narrative because, and we'll talk about this after the Super Chats, the shills had lost their focus.
Here's a great question from CC Karaoke. Are they bringing back Gina Carano as Cara Dune? I would love to know if Favreau has complete control of the casting of these films, and I hope that he does.
I'm not waiting with bated breath on this. I don't think.
So you're going to have to explain, Pro, why you think Favreau would go along with this.
Why do I think Favreau would be back?
No, why would he agree to go along with what you're positing, which is that this is just being pasted over for
I bet it's a real movie. I bet he's really involved in it, but the timing of putting this out there, that's what I think they're using as a diversion for the narrative. Why would they want to make this announcement on January 9th? This is not the time or the day that you would make an announcement that you're going to do this movie later in the year. You also would not announce it with a press release. Like, you want to put out some really cool, a teaser trailer to get the folks excited. A press release on the 9th of January, that's what gives me that indication. Can I suggest
where they would be doing this? The same place where they announced the previous batch of Star Wars movies, namely Star Wars Celebration in London. That's where they would do it.
But that's exactly right. There's no celebration, either literally or figuratively, though. Exactly. Not randomly out of the blue while they're under fire.
Right.
We'll show exactly how bad it had gotten in the discourse online in just a moment.
Yeah, I'll also add that when Disney tries to rush these Star Wars films, they cost an incredible, astronomical amount of money. Looking at the UK tax filings, they spent the equivalent of $530 million before tax credits on making Rise of Skywalker, which was let's just say it was a rush job, and leave it there. But this is going to be very expensive for Disney to make this in a time when they're supposed to be tightening the belt a little bit.
Can I say what makes me kind of sad about this, what it says about the business? Favreau is an amazingly talented guy. He made his bones with Iron Man and all of these movies. But he had kind of said, you know what, the way things are going, I don't want to be part of this anymore. And nobody clearly offered him something else. Nobody at any of the other studios said, you're a talented guy, we want you to come work for us. And he's, in a bad way, stuck with this. I mean, I'm sure he's getting an arm and a leg and everything else he could ever want. But it's kind of a waste of a great talent to say that nobody found something to inspire him that isn't Star Wars.
Well, Lou, you bring up a fantastic point. What I would say is that in the retrospective analysis in years to come, depending on how the James Gunn DC attempts go, there may be a time when people look back and say, gee, why didn't they try to get Favreau instead? It's not, I mean, that's a real comparison. I think that is appropriate to be made in the future.
I mean, this guy could be, he should be Ridley Scott. He should be Martin Scorsese. He should be so many of these guys that do such variety of work in handle big budgets, handle big epics, handle big star casts. And where's he been?
I would imagine that
he's one Kathleen Kennedy.
I'd imagine he's been tied up. I bet Warner Brothers Discovery and Universal have probably reached out to say, "Hey, how are things going over there, John?" Because he's been very quiet. He did a documentary for Apple TV, and other than that, I don't know what he's been up to.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are out. It's over. Call it. Game over. And the score? Well, you and I, we won by a lot. Star Wars, zip, zilch, nada, until they do something good again. All right, folks, help us out. Click the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Jon Favreau does not seem to want to be in Lucasfilm. He just wants to work with Lucasfilm, keeping them at a distance as best he can. We'll keep covering it wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Keep learning, keep growing, keep having fun, and who knows, maybe Favreau will go to DC. Not too distant future.